Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on SAP Solutions for Higher Education and Research. As part of this webinar, we shall be walking you through the solution that has capability to fit into any higher education establishment globally. Along with end-to-end digitization of university operations, the solution also offers automation, analytics, and user experience frameworks that acts as an enabler to become a smart enterprise, a smart university, a smart institution, a smart college. I am Atish Shukla. I am the head of the education vertical at Sonera Technologies. I am very passionate about education consulting, and with 10 years of experience in this domain, I have been part of multiple SAP higher education and research implementations. As part of the webinar today, we have two very prominent leaders with us, Rob Jonkers, Global Senior Director, SAP Higher Education and Research, and Dr. Ashish Bharadwaj, Director of Information Technology, Laureate, Australia. Rob has around 12 years of experience in supporting business transformation at education institutions across the globe, especially in the area of student, research, and administration. In his current role, Rob is also responsible for advising SAP regarding technology trends and requirements in the higher education sector. He has spoken at numerous conferences and events worldwide on how universities can effectively adopt SAP cloud technology to drive student success, simplify research project management, and create operational excellence. Dr. Ashish Bharadwaj is an executive, technologist, and educator with over 20 years of rich experience in delivering impactful technology and innovative solutions with global companies, where he has been designing solutions, consulting, building alliances, and managing strategic IT operations. He holds a PhD in business management and information technology. He is currently Director of IT with Laureate Education Australia and New Zealand, based in Sydney. In his role, he focuses on digital innovation, development and deployment of IT systems, and scalable hybrid, blended, and online teaching and learning solutions. With Sonera as IT partner, Dr. Ashish has led digital transformation journey with multiple education establishments. Welcome, Rob. Welcome, Dr. Ashish, for the webinar. Rob, over to you. Do you want to share the screen?
Remotely, that cloud is becoming more important, but also that people are logging in for all kind of like remote situations. So information security comes into place as the #1 strategic topic for institutions out there. Another one that I want to highlight is administrative simplification, and it's a little bit related to higher education affordability. We globally seen that institutions still spend a lot on keeping systems in the air, but not going into simplification or innovation for that matter. So to keep education affordable, it's also a goal for universities and institutions out there to keep the administration side of the house as simple as possible and running as efficient as possible. And last but not least, I want to focus on the #5, student-centric higher education. Of course, we have institutions that are very research intensive, but in the end, you have the students as your customers, your consumers, and they demand or ask for a couple of things from universities: that they are listened upon to their needs, that they want to get a personalized experience, to also improve their engagement in their study and their success in their study, and they demand a one-stop shop approach so that they can seamlessly interact with the university on their terms, and that's meaning social, mobile, etc. And of course, a couple of these elements are being accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic. And you can think about like deploying new styles of teaching, new business models, supporting non-traditional education also in a remote kind of manner, but also to ensure that, you know, IT costs are lowered, you know, the overall TCO is being lowered, all to support their core mission of teaching and research. So this is very important for us, for SAP, to also interact with our customers, but also to see what trends are out there in our customer base and in our industry. So we listen to our customers, we look at the trends, and that provides us, you know, the input to define, you know, the vision for the intelligent institution, or the smart university, the smart campus, the way you want to call it. And our vision for the intelligent institution is based upon 3 pillars. That's experience, intelligence, and operations. And if we look at like the operations side, there we provide all of those solutions to effectively run the institution, to drive operational excellence. And so you can think about a student information system end-to-end. Atish will go into that topic a little bit deeper. And that's our student lifecycle management solution. But as well, SAP is out there to run the HR, the total workforce management, including travel and spend, and as well, for example, procurement for all of the goods that need to be procured on campus, for example, in relationship to research, all of the lab materials. So research, grants management, that's all being part, so we can run that entire institution out there. That is equipped with intelligent technologies like machine learning, artificial intelligence. You can think about like chatbots. We call that the so-called co-pilot system, to support end users in their day-to-day tasks with proactive suggestions, but also chat capabilities to easily retrieve, for example, you know, the list of open items when it comes to finance. Or for example, all of those still open grant applications. And so that's being embedded along with predictive analytics and embedded analytics, as we call it. And the last but not least, here on the left side, the experience component. So we want to ensure that all of the university stakeholders have the best experience when it comes to interacting with the institution, with the solutions that we provide. And you need to be out there proactively to get that feedback from your students, from your stakeholders, from your researchers, even from your applicant students, to ensure that, for example, your admission process constantly being evaluated and being improved, to ensure that the student or the prospect student flows through that process seamlessly. So this is for us the vision that we define to really support your institution out there. And if we look at globally, the market adoption of SAP solutions in the SAP portfolio, we have more than 6,000 customers adopted our solutions. So we got quite a deep and broad footprint within the world of higher education and research. If you look at a little bit more deeper, how does it translate in almost like a solution overview, or what kind of solutions do we offer there? So to support that digitized smart university, we provide here on the lower bar all of those core solutions to support the institution as student lifecycle management end-to-end, from early admission to tuition fee to course registration, examination, degree audit, it's all there. But also in that same box, you have SAP S/4HANA Finance for the core financial processes, but also the procurement processes, which is an important back office topic at universities. As well, for those, especially those research intensive universities, we provide this component of managing the research project end to end, but also managing the grant, to report back to your sponsors in a very integrated way, where you can get reports to share with them. And as well, the total workforce topic, which I talked about, to manage all of your campus stakeholders, your professors, from time registration to projects, which is sometimes important for the funder, towards, you know, payroll and all of the talent management components that we have available. On top of that, we have so-called digital transformation accelerators. And you can think about like sub-online exams and assessment. So especially now due to COVID, the online learning exploded. But what about if everybody learns online? Great, but they also need to be assessed remotely. And here we got a tool which is ensuring that students can be examined in a digital kind of way, including online proctoring. How to also support the digital institutions where you have more people now working remotely. Think about simple signatures that need to be signed up on paper, perhaps still on paper, but how do you do that when everybody's working remotely? And so we also have this electronic signature solution that can help simplify, for example, the hiring process. That the hiring manager can sign off on, the contract that's to be offered to a recruit. Then experience management to track down all of the experience from students, applicants, researchers, etc. And last but not least, SAP Analytics Student Activity Hub, which is your single source of truth to manage and collect all student data, but also learning data, coming out of like a learning management system, or from Blackboard, from any kind of LMS, and merge that to really get a 360-degree view on the student. Talking about the experience data component a little bit more deeper, and that's an important kind of topic to really constantly assess how do your students feel about the campus services, but also think about courses and any kind of like service effectively that you offer. And what we do is we merge the experience data that come in from students, their brand perception, their satisfaction. We merge that also with their operational data, student data, personal data, demographics, and with that we enrich the view on the student and can tap into that and manage the student and serve the student in a much better manner. Here you see a couple of components that we provide out of the SAP so-called Experience Management Suite. And we also provide specific solutions in this current situation with the COVID-19 pandemic to provide solutions free of charge to get to know how your students are doing. And from there, you can expand on your Experience Management Suite components to eventually also build it in, for example, in your course offerings, that during the 4-week period of teaching a class, that every day or every week there is a moment there the student is being pulled on how are you doing, are you still motivated, what do you think about the class, what do you think about the professor, and that data can directly be used to act upon, because that is important, not act upon once the course is over and the student failed class. Now you need to act within the moment. And that is what we provide with SAP Experience Management, or in other words, Qualtrics. So if we look at our vision, we look at the trends in the market, we define the strategy, we also want to hear back from customers on how we can improve our portfolio. And we do that in several kind of manners: roll-in visits with individual customers, design thinking workshops with customers, but also we provide a platform which is called Customer Influence and Adoption, where you can start to influence almost every solution out there within the portfolio from SAP. So here you see a couple of examples on chatbots or asset intelligence network, but also specifically for higher education research. So we just finalized a round of customer connection for student lifecycle management, where customers globally could submit improvement requests for the solution. And so we build this and we deliver this in innovation cycles. But we also do this for the operation side of the house, for grantee management, for success factors, concurrent employment, etc. So it's out there for you as a customer to influence our roadmap. That eventually translates into an actual roadmap, what is coming. And you can go to this public website here, where you can find all of the roadmaps, specifically also for the industry of SAP Higher Education Research. And if we drill down into this with a couple of examples, here you see what we delivered, for example, for Student Activity Hub, with analytics, with digital assistants, etc. But also for the component of research management, for grants management, to really for university to get deep insight into this process, critically a key important process. And those processes, for example, for research management, grants management, these are equipped with so-called digital assistants. And here you see an example. It's an intelligent kind of chatbot with machine learning capabilities behind it, which you can use in day-by-day activities to make your life easier as a researcher or research administration person. But this digital assistant is also available, for example, in HR, finance, etc. What else do we provide? I was talking about total workforce management. We also have a solution to make life easy for every stakeholder on campus when it comes to travel, but also specifically to streamline that process to get a better insight in where spending is going when it comes to expenses, travel, etc. This solution out there is also integrated, for example, with funds and grants management. And so whenever a researcher has a certain expense or he needs to travel for his research project, it's directly linked to that specific research project within the finance system to get a real-time insight on what kind of grant money I have left. So if we go and see an example here, you see here that I'm opening up my mobile phone as a researcher. I'm making a picture of an invoice that I got from a lunch. Directly the solution recognizes the amount. I can do a next receipt. And again, I can check or make a picture. The solution is equipped with machine learning capabilities, artificial intelligence, so directly not only the amount is being tracked, but also where it comes from, who's the vendor, country, etc., etc. So that's being analyzed and is being put in my list of expenses. I can enable my personal credit card or my company payment card, and there I can select my individual expenses, and I can move them to an existing kind of claim, which I have opened, for example, for my research project or for my student recruitment process. And here I can start to add some details: when my trip started, where I traveled to, and for example, I can also add, for example, a specific cost object type. And this is the moment where you can link it to your specific research project where you are working upon as a researcher. You can add a little note there, and in the note, you can provide a little bit more details for your manager who needs to approve this. If everything goes according to the travel policy of the university, then this will be audited directly after a submit by artificial intelligence, and then there is no interaction with a manager needed. So it's directly approved. If there's any weird thing recognized by the artificial intelligence audit, then it will go to the manager or to an audit team for approval. So it's that is pretty simple. And here there's an example where we also make life easy for not only for students out there with mobile applications to do their admission, but also for professors, student administration once they start doing expenses and travel. Last but not least, I talked a little bit about vision, strategy, an example, roadmap. I talked about influence that is done via website capabilities, public websites, but also we have an annual kind of like user conference. This year, unfortunately, canceled due to COVID-19, but next year we're going to have a new one again in Canada, Toronto, organized by the University of Toronto. And we hope to see you there. It's a great community where people are interacting with each other on what they are doing with their SAP solutions, with CRM, student research, anything, plus SAP is presenting there on the latest and greatest. So it's a great venue, but also community of being part of. So we hope to see you there. With this, I want to hand it over. Yes.
Fantastic. So jumping straight into it, essentially we'll talk about a little bit around digital transformation, right? So first of all, what are some of the disruptive forces we're facing as in industry, right? So we have, I think all of these would be no strangers to all the people on this webinar. One is globalization, where we have, new business models coming in. So traditional higher education and universities are facing, competition from non-traditional educational models. For example, the shorter term courses, the aggregators, the marketplaces, and so on and so forth. We have a whole lot of changing fiscal realities where even in India, this is very applicable that depending on what grade you receive by the national accrediting agencies, that determines the level of autonomy you have as a university, right? So, and that then determines a whole lot of other things going forward in terms of students, courses, programs that you can offer. So that's the other piece. The third is around changing expectations, right? So students are coming in and they expect the institution to compete or at least match the level of technology that they have in their back pockets, right? And so they want to be connected, they want to learn anywhere, anytime, 24/7, and so on. And of course, all of this, is happening in the context of a lot of innovation around edtech as such, and then companies coming in, startups coming in with newer, very interesting solutions, right? So all of these are the realities of life, and therefore, what is important is really the fact that higher education and research needs to optimize the use of technology that they use for teaching and learning and operations, have a key focus on improving student outcomes, keep pace with increasing regulatory and compliance needs, and yet enable key campus stakeholders access on the mobile on any device for both operational and academic systems, right? So essentially from a transformation agenda perspective, if you're able to, as an institution, reimagine student engagement, that really helps us to both attract and retain students, right, and grow. Uh, so we've been kind of working, and we've seen in India and globally that if an institution is data driven and decisions are based on data, actually, the quality of those decisions is far superior and the direction the institution takes is far better than in a case where that does not happen, right? And of course, as all this transformation is happening, there's a whole need to reskill the workforce. I'm sure all of us have seen that anecdote where, what caused digital transformation in your organization? Was it the CEO? Was it the CIO? Or was it COVID-19? I think the answer for all of us is COVID-19 at this point from the acceleration perspective. This is a little deeper dive on, what are the typical needs of a learner today. And I think if you really, the center part focuses on the student life cycle, what that would look like. And this would include everything from recruiting and admissions. How do you make that smarter? How do you make that more intelligent? So you have, applications of AI, applications of machine learning in each and every one of these components potentially, right? And if you then go down the circle, you will come to things like multimodal delivery models, which would then talk about not just face-to-face, which is more traditional, but also things like hybrid, blended, fully online, and so on and so forth, right? And if you look at the outer red circles, essentially this is what a learner of today would want, right? I mean, my son is not even in higher education yet, but even in school, he wants to be device agnostic, he wants a consumer-like experience, and these are fairly high levels of standards that are set by companies like Apple, etc., right? So they establish a gold standard for a consumer-like experience, and that's what these guys expect. They would want social integration with all the typical platforms of today, immediate and on-demand access to information. It should look nice as well, besides giving them the accurate information that they want. So they want embedded analytics and decision tools. And of course, collaboration and chat should be embedded in the entire thing. So that's a typical requirement of things. Now, coming to our context of how we had done SAP for UPES many years ago, 2006 to be precise. So we had the options, and I'm sure all the people on this call, if you're evaluating an enterprise system, you would have similar options where you can either, you'll be having point solutions for different things. So you can either enhance those, and that those could include things like a tally for financial accounting and so on and so forth. Or you can build your own system. So you can rewrite the entire solution from scratch. Or you can buy a commercial off-the-shelf product like SAP's industry solution for higher education and research. Or you can do a mix and match of the entire thing. Now, when we had gone for this, some of the key considerations we had were, we wanted a technology platform, not just a product which does a specific thing, right? And the advantage of having a platform really is that you're able to evolve that, you're able to grow that as the institution grows, right? So you can add a whole lot of the other things, for example, what Rob talked about, things like expense management and so on and so forth, which otherwise is very hard for a competing product which has a limited scope of functionality to kind of cope with. The second thing was functional coverage and scope. So now again, you'll have different products catering to different needs. Does your product have the necessary wherewithal to be able to comply and compete with global standards? So is it applicable for Indian universities, Australian universities, US universities, and so on and so forth? We had a requirement of a multi-campus creation and integration. So can we manage multiple campuses, and these campuses could be offering learning in different modes, right? And that's where the next point comes, that we're offering support for multiple education models, blended, hybrid, face-to-face, fully online, etc. And of course, the management and control objectives, and it should be maintenance, from maintenance and future-proofing standpoint, it should be kind of there. So that's what kind of led us to, get evaluate this solution. And based on these parameters, essentially around scalability, requirements, coverage, and depth, global best practices that a product like this brings, and of course, the fact that, it's a future-proof platform, really, that's what kind of led us to choose this. We also were helped by the fact that at that point of time, we were a young university and had limited legacy data or processes. But as from a good practice perspective, we really focused on configuration, not customization as such. And that is a key thing whenever you're selecting whichever product from my perspective, because the more you customize it, and by customization, I mean adding code or tweaking code to meet your needs rather than achieving the same result through configuration, the more you're painting yourself into a corner, in the sense that when it comes to upgrading that system or working with something else, that becomes harder and harder. The third thing is that when you're doing this implementation, we managed change management reasonably well, and we limited scope creep. So we had a fixed set of goalposts. We tried our best to achieve those. And of course, we did a whole bunch of re-engineering of our processes. And in that context, we were able to adopt a lot of good practices available in the product with respect to that vertical. And of course, we received a whole lot of help from SAP Consulting and SAP as an organization. Now, from a journey perspective, this is what we went through. So 2007 is when we went live with ECC 5. We then upgraded that to ECC 6 next year, went in for contracts accounting, added payroll, employee self-services, etc. Won an ACE award in 2012, won another ACE award in 2018. And of course, in the interim, did the all-important upgrades to Enhancement Pack 6, and of course, changed our entire database to the in-memory technology of HANA. So we started off the journey with an Oracle database, which was on-premise. We moved that entire thing to the newer technology stack, which is next generation, which is SAP HANA in-memory technology on the cloud, purely. Right? So we went in for that, and based on that, we had a fair number of benefits. So first was we were able to reduce 70% our database size, which was significant because it gives you a whole bunch of efficiencies in all other forms. We were able to reduce our recovery time objective by 80%. We were also able to see an increase in speed of transactions for an average user between 2x to 100x, right? Because of the fact that now you're not limited by the speed of disks reading and writing data. Everything is happening in memory, right? And finally, we built an analytical model on top of our transactional system. And that really gave us a visibility into data quality within the system. So essentially, we were able to implement something called Translytics, which essentially means we had a common system and platform, both from a transactional perspective and from an analytics perspective, right? And based on all of that, that's how the journey kind of went. And this is where I'll take a pause, welcome any questions at the end of the session. And Atish.
Thank you. So in this section, we'll be walking you through the technology solutions SAP has for higher education establishment. And also we'll be focusing on the capabilities Sonera has built around it and how we are facilitating digital transformation for all establishments. Now, to start with, a simple fact that there are more mobile phones in the planet than there are people has changed the complete dynamics around the education world. This ever-changing technology needs, combined with the recent pandemic situation we are in, this entire thing has led to a paradigm shift from mobile devices in university to university on mobile. So what are the three key takeaways from this evolution? Number one, going digital is no longer an option. Number two, student success and experience management is the key differentiator. Number three, we all need real-time data on our fingertips to take prompt corrective actions. Now, in continuation to this, how are we at Sonera meeting the demand of real-time data on our fingertips? Let's have a look at this video. So now this is all about SAP Analytics. This is where we aspire all the universities to reach. Now think of a situation where a management decision has to be taken based on this kind of data available on mobile device. This is what SAP ISHER brings to the table. Now, when I say ISHER, it means industry-specific higher education and research platform. This comes along with 4 modules. If you see on the slide at the below, we have SAP Finance, which takes care of university finance operations. Then we have SAP Material Management. Then we have SAP Success Factors. And then we have SAP Student Lifecycle Management. Now, when we combine all the 4 package solution, this is what a university can do with the data. The bigger picture available in this slide is about the complete cycle of student lifecycle management solution, which starts with recruiting and goes beyond graduating and alumni. Now, everything that is between the recruitment of a student and the graduation process is taken care in this SLCM platform. Now, the most important element is that every box, every circle we see here has embedded analytics. When we say that SAP SLCM can take care of admissions, we mean that SAP SLCM has the power to have a comprehensive master data in place. It has power to run analytics, and it has capabilities to integrate with surround systems. Number of students who have applied for a program, number of students who have qualified a merit list, number of students who are appearing in the written test, and so on. This kind of analytics is embedded. Now, all the process which starts after a student is onboarded, for instance, equivalency determination for the lateral students, student financials, registration, course specializations, exam and assessments. Now, when I say assessments, SAP has capability to have paper-based assessments and also online assessments. It has a full-fledged solution available along with proctoring, where university can run online assessments. Post-assessments, faculties can upload grade, faculties can do academic advising. Now, advising is one of the key factor of student success. Is my academic advising beneficial for the student? This is the kind of analytics which we can build on top of SLCM. Then we have progressions where all the complex rules of a university are written, and this takes care of promotion of a student from stage 1 to stage 2 or semester 3 to semester 4 and so on. Then we have re-registration process followed by change of program, degree audit, and eventually a student becomes a alumni of the education setup. Now the outer circle denotes the process which SLCM has. The inner circle has all the master data components. Now the administration of a university can build a timetable based on the data. We can have a student master data. We can have a student administration done, advising data, academic data, all the rules and regulations and ordinances of a university written. All these forces combine to give you a comprehensive student file. This is end-to-end solution of student lifecycle management, and this has embedded analytics built on top of it. Now we have a templatized solution built around it, a solution which we feel can reduce the implementation time by 40%. And how we have been able to do that is using our decade of experience in SAP HER, and we have built this comprehensive end-to-end solution for all education establishment. Now the top layer is what SAP standard has. Student lifecycle management combined with online assessments, finance and controlling, material management, human capital management, success factors, and predictive and prescriptive analytics. Along with standard package, Sonera has built capabilities around hostel management, transportation management, the pre-admission process, student placements, the feedback, the compliance reporting, and faculty administration services. And finally, we have 4 important components which drives your implementation in much faster pace, and the amount of effort spent in implementation also reduces. Now the cloud tester is one such element in this entire picture, which will reduce the testing time up to 70%. Now, if I compare an academic institute with a corporate industry setup, one thing which is a difference between the two is that the education setup is very, very dynamic. All the social elements, the community requirements, the government regulations, the environmental changes like COVID-19, all impacts rules and regulation a university operates in. Now, this cloud tester will give you flexibility to run test scripts, automated test scripts, and the manual effort spent on testing can be reduced. Similarly, we have ServiceNext, a homegrown product by Sonera Tech. This takes care of all chatbot and RPA automation requirements of a university. This, along with student experience framework, which Sonera has built on SAP and non-SAP technologies, will give you edge and will give you pathway to have a student success assured, and in return provide adequate workforce for the community. Now this setup has pre-configured best practices for any education establishment. If you are a college, if you're an education institute, if you're a fashion house, we have all the best practices pre-configured. Based on our experience of, which is a decade old now, we have liberal arts, we have seen fixed curriculum, we have seen pseudo-liberal arts, we have seen choice-based credit system, and we have also seen mixture of all these for the institutes which are not governed by UGC. Moving ahead, now these are some of the happy customers we have in higher education and research. Every logo visible here has a story to tell. It gives us dynamic experience. Some are liberal arts setup, some are engineering colleges, some are management business house, some are fashion houses, and some are business management institutes not governed by UGC regulations. I'm very happy to say that we did UPES and Pearl Academy of Fashion implementation along with Dr. Ashish Bharadwaj. Now, this is also one of the important asks which comes to the table when deciding the ERP product and the service for the digital transformation. What is the ROI of my investment? Now, the RDS solution developed by Sonera has capabilities to increase your admission cycle by 11.5% and reduce the implementation time by 40%. It will increase your operational efficiency by 21.5%, and the student engagement will increase by 19.5%. Now, all the figures mentioned here are based on our experience with all the customers and all the logos we showcased in the previous slide. We are also very proud to mention that more than 90% of customer base in SAP Higher Education and Research in India are with Sonera Tech. And just 2 years back, we also won two SAP ACE Award for doing for building next gen analytics around higher education and research. Now I'll just take a couple of minutes and walk you through some of the screens and some of the experience framework which we have built for our customers, and I'll try to walk you through the difference and the capabilities of SAP. Now in this screen, we have built an admission application form for one of our customers where the applicant is not required to enter any data. So why enter data when we can just select? Was the motive of the implementation, and this is just a snapshot of the larger picture. This is also for one of our customers where we have built an admission application form in aligned to the requirements of the university. We have dashboards and analytics around faculty teaching workload and compensation. Now, this is very, very closely integrated with student lifecycle management and human capital management of SAP. So advising and mentoring is also one of the key aspects which we have built for higher education establishments. A faculty can advise, a faculty can recommend a student the right pathway for success, and with the right advising, the student's success rate also increases. We have built solutions around campus placements, and this is one of the snapshot of analytics around it. Some of our analytics are also demographic based, and we try to use we try to showcase data in the format which a customer is comfortable to see, and there are no boundaries and no limitation on the way the data can be presented for any requirement. These are some of the analytical dashboards we have built for controller of examination. The GPA performance of a student based on program, based on college, based on department, based on semester, and we can do a comparison and derive the predictive GPA average GPA rate for a college or for a program. Some snapshots of analytics which we have built around student performance, faculty attrition, and student financials. And finally, program-wise profitability report. So with SAP, we can have a profitability analysis run based on program, based on institute, based on department, or based on group of students. Moving on, I'll just spend a couple of minutes on this slide. This is how our practice looks like. We have three broad segments in SAP HER. One is advisory functions, the second is digital enterprise, and the third is cloud. In advisory functions, we help education establishments adopt right technology. We help them with BPR, that is business process reengineering. We help institutes adapt best practices. We do a lot of assessments for them. And in digital enterprise, we take care of all technology solutions which education establishment requires to face all the challenges of the modern world. And in cloud, we help customers move their infrastructure, move their setup to cloud. And we have all the tools available with us, which can build a roadmap for the university for cloud migration. And this is a overall overview of Sonera from capabilities perspective. So we have everything that an IT company and a consulting company has to offer. So we have capabilities around cloud platforms. We have capabilities around data foundation and enabling capabilities. And then we take care of enterprise process, apps and modernization. And then finally, we have digital experience and innovation. And we have industry focus on higher education, research and government. We have industry focus on supply chain and manufacturing and CPG. Finally, Sonera, in some numbers, we have 8 locations around the globe. We have 1,300 plus digital professionals, 20 plus services, and more than 250 happy customers. So we can have a question and answer round now. So we have Rob Jonkers and Dr. Ashish with us. Any questions, feel free to type on the question and answer chat box. Okay. So Rob, we have one question for you.
Go ahead.
So what is the future roadmap of solution SAP HER, and why SAP HER? What are the key differentiators of SAP compared to other products available in the market? This is a question to you, Rob.
Okay, thanks for the question. Thank you, Atish. If we look at the student lifecycle management, and I also explained that in my section of the presentation, is that we just delivered a so-called customer connection program, which is part of the roadmap. So if you look at student lifecycle management, we delivered, I believe, 35 new enhancements and improvements coming out of the customer community. So that is really something which is building up the roadmap, for student lifecycle management. And if you look at what we all recently delivered, is that we made the solution available in the on the HANA component running on an in-memory database. We delivered a variety of mobile Fiori applications for student administration, for students. We delivered embedded analytics. We also went under the hood of the solution to ensure that key processes, like, for example, the grading process, was running much more smoothly and taking advantage of the power of the HANA platform. So you get a lot of recent innovations that we delivered with the student lifecycle management solutions, and we're going to continue to enhance it to ensure that you can take the most out of this very rich student information system solution. And along with that, if you look at the broader portfolio for higher education and research, you will see that we also deliver the Student Activity Hub. You will see that we deliver a lot of innovations and enhancements in the area of grants management. So we're working upon the broader picture also to support and to run the institution. And that does not only is limited to very specific industry solutions, as we call them, but also we're looking into, for example, success factors and making this much more applicable to higher education and research. So for example, concurrent employment, which is a very hot topic within higher education and research with multiple positions, but also budget planning, budget and position planning, all integrated and available in success factors, but also integrated again with the S/4HANA digital core. So we really invest in a variety of solutions to make that applicable for the industry.
Okay, thank you, Rob. There's another question around SAP. Does SAP have any solution around student scholarships, student sponsorship, or grant aid? Rob, do you want to take that, or I can answer?
No, you can take it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so SAP has a dedicated solution for sponsorship, scholarships, grants, and it's called Student Accounting and Grants Management. It integrates with student lifecycle management and university finances, and it can take care of end-to-end operations around it.
And maybe to add on that, if you look at student accounting, it's one of the most powerful components of student lifecycle management, next to many others, like for example, I know the admission audit engine or the degree audit engine, very flexible, powerful engines. And if you look at student accounting, let's say you have 100,000 students, you could effectively have 100,000 different fee outcomes because you have such a powerful, flexible fee calculation engine that can also take into account, for example, scholarships that have been calculated, and that can be deducted, for example, from a tuition fee. So there's a lot of flexibility in that space to run that process.
Thank you, Rob. There's another question for Dr. Ashish. Any insight on challenges, hurdles faced during your digital transformation journey? And how did you overcome change management issues?
So I think, I talked to some of those in one of my slides. Essentially, challenges and hurdles are, around. One is the piece of configuration versus customization, right? Because everybody wants exactly their shade of pink on things, to coin a phrase, right? So that's one piece. That what is good for the institution as a whole versus individual needs. That's number one. Number two is around, as you rightly pointed out, change management is one of the most difficult things to achieve across the organization. And when you have a pandemic-like situation, that often becomes a lot easier than what you might think, right? Which is what we are seeing with the current COVID crisis, especially from a teaching and learning point of view, right? So faculty who have historically been very resistant to delivering online or even considering electronic delivery have been now forced to adopt to it by virtue of the fact that they're in a pandemic situation. So I think it's really about, when you're doing change management, it is about making the change work with people rather than having the change being done to people, right? And that difference, if one is able to maintain, I think that becomes a lot easier.
And that, Dr. Ashish, you're spot on. And I also believe that if you look at the cloud portfolio that we have with software as a service, which almost comes, what you see, what you get, still with, some extensibility, configuration capabilities, of course, and along with what Ceneratech, what you guys are delivering, with a template on top of student lifecycle management, you are effectively increasing or enforcing the user adoption And that also has to do with a standardization mindset. And I believe if we look at now the current situation with the COVID-19, it effectively accelerates the need of adopting standard software. And of course, you know, that could apply in areas like the travel management tool that I showed. That's more easy. But with student lifecycle management, I also believe standardization is good, but still you would need like a certain level of flexibility to address key needs or specific processes that are unique to your institution. But standardization, I believe that this is where we are heading into, which also will address, you know, administrative simplification overall. And in the end also will make or will keep higher education affordable, because not a single student globally will go to a university just because they have a great payroll or accounts payable process. No one, not a single student. They will all go there because it's a great university with great teachers, great student services, high velocity research, high ranked research. That is critically important. That needs to be the area where the funding needs to go into.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Dr. Ashish. We have one more question, Rob. Can we have National Assessment and Accreditation Council, which is one of the compliance reporting on SAP, as this can help universities and also help compliance in process? So Rob, before we answer that, do you want to spend some time on customer influence and how that is resulting, empowering consultants and customers to get new things developed in SAP?
Yeah, so that's what I briefly touched upon. When it comes to these kind of like specific, I believe these are real local kind of requirements. Most of the time what we see happening is that the local expertise partner, like a Syneratech, is taking this on within the project, and that they are utilizing standard components or frameworks out of student lifecycle management to retrieve the right data and transform it into the right format of report and to share with the authority that requires such a report. So that's just from the high level question I get. This is the direction I'm thinking about, but please add here if you want to, Atish.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Just to add to what Rob has mentioned, so we are in the process of building such kind of compliance reporting as part of our RDS solution. And probably in the next 2 or 3 months, we'll have a integrated end-to-end solution around it.
But it's also important to keep in mind here that, you know, specifically with requirements like the NAC, they keep changing frequently, formats keep changing. So it's important not just to build it, but also to keep that up to date, right, in terms of the newest requirements.
Right. So do we have any more questions? So that's all from our side. Thank you everyone for joining. These are our connects. Feel free to drop any email, any concern. We'll be sharing this PPT with all the participants very soon. And for Bangladesh territory, we have a very strategic partnership with eGeneration. The connects are also visible on the screen. Thank you so much, Rob. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much, Dr. Ashish. Thank you so much for your time.